Nightwing 127, legacy number 314. So, this issue kind of kicks off a new arc. Obviously, it's still very much following on from where we were before, but by the end of the issue, we kind of like set up a whole new thing. We've got that kid from the Teddies, who's kind of wanting to come and help Nightwing, so he kind of breaks into the Titans Tower, which is where Nightwing is now living with Babs. Or at least he's living there and Babs is always there. I don't know if she's technically living there, but whatever, it doesn't really matter. And you've got Mayor Grayson Lynn. She's like doing a press conference, and she's kind of ready to maybe admit that she made some mistakes by giving Spheric all this power to do what they're doing. So you've got all this set up, and this is all tying into what was going on before in the story. And there's obviously the reference again to the mayor seeing what's her face's real face. I can't remember her name.
Yeah, Olivia Pierce.
There you go, Olivia Pierce. So they tease that, right? And you've got her yelling "help us" before she collapses on TV. So Nightwing's like, shit, I need to go see her. However, right as this is happening, this is when the kid throws the brick in the window downstairs, and they're like, wait a minute, someone's trying to break into the Titans Tower, and Babs is like, I'll take care of this, you go see your sister, it's Titans Tower, I'm a superhero too, I'm fine. So we get this great panel of Nightwing jumping on the the high-rise train. Like, I really love that panel, and all the speed lines and stuff. But he's rushing off to see his sister, and right as this is happening, we start getting the dual narration, right? And this was genuinely quite like weird to me, because I wasn't sure, like, okay, who's this one with the blue box he's talking? Because it's not Nightwing, because it's like someone's talking about Nightwing. And then of course you've got the Zanny comes in and starts talking to this other voice. And I did figure it out before it revealed it, but it wasn't yet. Like, it wasn't right now. It took me like a few of these pages before I finally clicked who this was.
There was an early part where in the dialogue it gave a dead giveaway, and it made my brain think. And I was like, wait, why would that narration box say that?
Yes.
And then as it's going, it dawned on me when I got to this page. I was like, oh, okay. And then it made me think about the Zani, and I'm like, oh no, what does this say about this figure? Because going forward. One
of the little touches here that's very good is that these narration boxes I'll just say it's Nightmite, right? Nightmite, they're all normal narration boxes, rectangles. But once the Zanny starts talking to him, the rectangles for Nightmite become sort of like wobbly bubbles, right? They become very like broken and kind of unstable looking. So it's kind of like, the Zanny's got a lot of power, it seems like. Yeah. So Nightwing sees his sister in hospital who's in a coma, and he's like, wait, why are all the doctors staring out the window? It's because some grotesque monster from another dimension has completely covered the entirety of Titan's Tower, which of course is like, wait, Babs, what the hell? What's going on here? So we get this great page where Pierce is in her limo and her face is in shadow, and then you just see like a panel, like a close-up of her pulling her face down, and I'm like, oh damn, that's so creepy. She's put her face on, literally. She's just put her face on.
I can't think of a writer in recent memory who does creepy as well as Dan Watters. Whether it was the Ten-Eyed Man, whether it's anything in Dark Patterns with the Wound Man, right? Anything so far.
It's so funny, Matt. I was about to say, but what about Dark Patterns? And then you said that, and I was like, oh yes, it's both Dan Watters. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so like,
I'm tired. Okay, my brain's not operating at the full capacity.
But like, even that what was that issue with it was during the Nightmares. I think it was the Nightwing issue that dealt with like the cosmic horror-y things that Nightwing was dealing with. That was Dan Watters. So yeah, just the creepiness, and especially right here, you cannot see her face.
No.
But then you look down and she's holding her face in her hand. Right? Yeah. And you're like, oh, that is unsettling. So yeah, just
super creepy
across the board.
She's there with Spheric. They're going to start blasting this big monster-looking thing with their laser blasters, and Nightwing shows up and tells them to back off. And she's like, "Hey, Nightwing, we made a suit that can deal with this energy, this interdimensional energy that's like this thing's emitting. We've got a suit for you that'll protect you." And that's the suit that he's wearing on the cover. And he's like, "I'm not wearing something you made." And she's like, "That you're going to have to. Like, if you want to go in there, is there someone in there you care about? Because you might have to like go in and get them." So he reluctantly puts it on. So we get him in this kind of more armored looking suit, and he walks up to the monster, and it kind of just opens. But when he goes inside, it's not just the geography of the tower. It's like, okay, this creature is from another dimension, and clearly, since we're talking about Nightmite, we're talking the fifth dimension. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, behind that door, like, nothing makes sense. The door's just kind of standing in the middle of a hallway. There's space in front of it, even though it should be where the entrance was. And he doesn't really know where he's going now. And then the final page reveals that this monster is basically Nightmite, who's been, like, turned into this by the Zani. And he, like, his head's at the top, just yelling, "Help me." And to be fair, Dick Grayson, like, realizes it's him. This sort of coincides with Dick figuring this out. He's like, "What happened to you? Can't you talk to me?" And then you just see that final page where he's saying, "Help me." So I think this is really cool. And I think what's especially cool about it is that Dan Waters, it never felt like he wanted to like jettison anything that Tom Taylor set up in his run. Like, he kept his sister as the mayor. He kept the Dick and Babs relationship going from where it was, and I really appreciated all that. But I think Nightmite was something that Taylor introduced, so I really love that Dan Waters came in and said, "Hey, I've got an idea for an arc where someone like messes with Nightmite and like turns him into like a cosmic horror monster that against his will, and it's basically creating this haunted house arc for Nightwing to because I assume Nightwing is going to go through the building now, trying to get to like where he can fix all this stuff, and he's probably going to see some weird horrors that are either from Nightmite's like twisted versions of memories or stuff, or maybe some stuff that the Zani set up for him because the Zani wants to manipulate and put stuff in his head. But either way, I thought as far as kicking off a new arc goes seamlessly from the continuing the previous one, I thought this did a pretty great job.
Yeah, so it was early on in the narration when it says, "I don't know," it's been like 30 issues. The fourth dimension is kind of hard to keep track of. That's what clicked. I was like, "Oh, it's Nightmite. What's going on?" Had no idea that the Zani was going to do this. And then just the creepiness of the Zani saying, let me read where he goes, "I've reclaimed this dimension for the Cirque. I am sculpting it, and it should be, hold on. I'm sculpting it as it should be, and if you wish to visit, right, you'll come as you are and let them see you." Right? So just this concept of we can't perceive the fifth dimension, right? That's why Mxyzptlk and Batmite, they all take the forms that they do of the imps. And it's almost as if the Zani triggered something that this is kind of the fourth or the fifth dimensional form of Nightmite, and he's unable to control it. And it's like, well, what kind of power is the Zani playing with if he's able to do this? And it makes it that much of more of a task for Nightwing. And yeah, man, just Dan Waters doing these type of things in Nightwing that I'm not expecting. Like, I'm used to like the crime aspect and everything that Taylor did with him reshaping the city. That's all very, Dick Grayson-y. But here to add this fifth dimensional rift and sending Nightwing in to go deal with it, that is some new storytelling on Waters' part, and I'm here for it.
I mean, yeah, I think I just like the idea that this feels so different from the first arc. Like, it's continuing on seamlessly, but as soon as like we get all this stuff set up and when the issue ends with Nightwing getting into the Titan's Tower, and it's surrounded by interdimensional monstrosities, which it seems to all be one thing really. It's all just Nightmite who's been mutated and spread out over it against his will. And it's almost like he went to the tower because he needed help. Right? And that's why it's at Titan's Tower. Maybe. Yeah. I mean, what I was saying there, though, is why I don't think this is necessarily what his natural form in the fifth dimension is, because it seems like he's in too much pain, like he's been tortured by being in this form. Well, right, but what if that's because he can't... It does hurt in the fourth dimension.
That's why they take the form of the imps and whatever. You know, like you can't have his real form out in this dimension. It's too different.
I think that's you taking a leap where nothing suggests that.
yeah, maybe.
Yeah, this feels more to me that I mean, I'm not saying that like maybe he is a purple monster that has like 4 eyes and these big teeth, but I don't think he's this big, and I don't think he's like this all spread out like normally. This all feels like he's being like I guess just stretched out, like Pinhead's walked in and like hooked some chains into him and like pulled him apart kind of thing.
And again, you say taking the leap, but it's what the Zani says, right? You'll come as you are and let them see you. Let them see you as you truly are.
Right? Yeah, okay, that's not.
So what else is that supposed to mean? So that's why. And again, this could be Zani just messing with him, right? Like, let him show you what you truly are. But he's messed with him because of the Cirque. Because he's forming him, and this is what he thinks, right? But yeah, no, I really enjoyed this issue, and with the stuff with Pierce and her coming in playing like the hero and shooting him with whatever this energy is, and then when it goes to let Nightwing in, she's like, oh, it's Kappa energy, it must like you, and so she's priming everybody that's sitting there listening of it. So it's all part of this ultimate whatever their plan is. They're just trying to manipulate everything.
Yeah, I mean, I think this idea of the Zani going after this like entity that effectively worships Nightwing, to try and bastardize that idea and kind of get into Nightwing's head by taking this apart, and then not to mention the fact that we have this kid who also got into the tower. So Nightwing and Barbara don't know that. Well, maybe Barbara knows. We don't know what she knows yet because we don't see her after all this stuff kicks off. But this kid's also in the tower, which is also another kind of like wild card that plays. Like, when's this kid going to come into this? So no, I think there's a lot of interesting things being played with here, and I'm excited to see where this goes. So no, excellent stuff, and obviously Dexter Soy's art is a delight per usual. And I think this is like something very different that he gets to draw with all this like monstrosity around the tower. Like, it's so different to anything, because the last arc was all like, oh, it's like RoboCop style mech suits and things like that he gets to draw, as well as the superheroes. This he's like, oh no, now we're doing stuff from beyond. We're doing Lovecraft. We're doing this crazy stuff.
In that panel where Nightwing walks in, the only real right angle is the door. Right? Everything's at a curve, everything's warped, which I associate Dexter Soy with some very angular art. So the fact that everything's softened here, and it's almost like it's very cartoony in that, where there's, it's like Looney Tunes and Disney, where there's not a lot of harsh angles. It definitely tells us that something is different. But yeah, putting Nightwing in these type of predicaments, I am a fan of, because it also makes me wonder, like, what is it about him besides the circus tie? Why does the Zani want to do this with him so much? Why is he trying to reclaim him for the Cirque? But yeah. So no, I'm excited to see where this is going. What are you giving Nightwing? I'm giving this a 9.
Yep, 9 out of 10.